Hello and good morning. My guest today is Marc Guyon. He's a martial artist, a political thinker, and a candidate who's taken on the French legislative system from one of the most overlooked positions, representing French citizens abroad. From his home base in Hong Kong, Marc has launched a movement called Renouveau Patriote, or Patriotic Renewal, with a bold promise to do politics otherwise. We'll talk about his campaigns in the 2022 and 2024 French National Assembly elections, what it means to represent the 11th constituency of French citizens overseas, and the deeper cracks forming in the French political landscape today. Welcome to the show, Marc.
Thank you, Jack. Nice to see you there, and thank you for inviting me. Very excited.
So, first of all, how did you actually come to Hong Kong? You came here first as a martial artist, I believe, in Wing Chun. And what brought you to Hong Kong and what brought you to your martial arts journey or what started your martial arts journey?
That's it. That's Wing Chun. A lot of people go to Brazil because they love capoeira, or they go to India because they love yoga. So I came to Hong Kong because I love Wing Chun and I wanted to see in person and meet the grandmasters I've seen in the pictures in my schools in France. And I came for that. And what brought me to Wing Chun actually is Hong Kong movies. I was watching I loved kung fu movies from Hong Kong. I remember there's an old movie called Warriors 2 with Sammo Hung in that. And when I saw it for the first time, it made me interested in Wing Chun. And when I was looking for any martial arts in France, I saw a school called and teaching Wing Chun, and I was a bit surprised because I knew there's karate, I know there's boxing and a lot of things, judo in France, but I wasn't expecting to hear Wing Chun. And when I heard it, I said, "Oh, but I've seen this in a movie from Hong Kong." So I was very curious. I went there and I loved it, and I was practicing every day since when I was 15 years old, 5 days a week. I loved it, and I became a coach very quickly after 2 years, helping my masters to teach, and every day going to the school, the gym, the kun, like we said. I was looking at the pictures of the grandmasters, and one of them is in Hong Kong. His name is Leung Ting, and I wanted to come to meet him in person, and I did. And I did his classes for instructors. He accepted me in the classes, and I was very happy. I was living the dream. I was waiting for that for a long time, and that's what brought me to Hong Kong. I was expecting to stay a few months and go back to France, but Hong Kong welcomed me so well, and I made so many friends so fast, and I felt at home very quickly. And I went and attempted to go back to France. I went back to France for a few months, and I felt abroad in France. I felt like a foreigner in my own country, and I decided to come back to Hong Kong. I met my wife here, and I started family here. All my friends are here now, so that's it. That's my life. That's Hong Kong is the place to be.
And so how many years ago was that and how long have you been here?
Now I've been here for more than 12 years, so it was like October, November 2012, 12 years and a half. Time
So
flies.
let's go from from martial artists and having your own gym as well and MMA gym. And then the politics. It's the weirdest combination that I didn't even know until I did the research.
Well, Conor McGregor wants to be president now, so it's not weird anymore.
Not so weird. No, it's is GSP a politician yet?
He
Maybe not.
could. He could actually. I think he could be a great politician, but let's see. It's not everybody is interested. Schwarzenegger
So
he also was a
well, that's
politician.
true.
Well, he wasn't really a martial artist. He was more an actor, but there's a lot of values in common. When you look at this and you see what martial arts politics is weird, but there's something in common is that martial artists and politicians, they defend some values, they defend one vision of society. Very often you say that in martial arts it's not only fighting, it's philosophy. There's a lot of things like you have to accept, you have to come on time, you have to work in teams, you have to listen to the masters, you have to work with your training partners and so on. So you develop some values, and you can see it nowadays. Even like if you see in the U.S., Trump he loves to go to the UFC. Uh, Elon Musk even started to train martial arts. He was about to fight with Zuckerberg, but it's not happening. But like everything is connected much more than we think. So we're not going to spend 1 hour to talk about it. But I think there's so many things connecting the dots between martial arts world and politics.
But how did that transition happen? How did you just wake up one day and said, you know what, I'm just gonna go out and try to be a politician?
It's
Tell us
just
about that.
no, it's just passion. Like I'm actually I'm a finance guy. I studied finance, have a master's degree in finance. I work in finance for a few years, but we always have our we. I think most of us have hobbies, right? You can love like playing golf or horse racing or tennis or whatever. I loved martial arts, and I was interested in politics. So for me, it was just a hobby, and actually it's still a hobby. And I ended up opening some gyms as a business, but I was never like 100% like fighting as to make an income. So for me, it's still like a hobby. Although I'm fighting, I do some professional fights, but it's still like something I like to do. It's not my main activity. And same for politics. Politics, I've always been interested. I didn't just wake up one day, hey, I wanna. It's not something. I know some people have a personal reason. Something happened to them, and they decide, okay, I have to do it because it's my duty, it's my vocation. I was always interested. I would say maybe because I was studying business and economics and finance. I was thinking, if you want to understand the business world and the world, you have to be interested in politics. So you read business news, you read political news, you want to understand the world, and little by little, you are interested in politics. And I think everybody, actually, all businessmen needs to be interested in politics. So that's how it started to be to raise my interest. But the other point, I would say, like, maybe you want to ask me why I get involved in politics, why I'm actively do some like activism. So actually, I think I know where I come from, where my family come from, how we got in France, how we got the French identity, how I assimilate to being French, and I know the values which are in me thanks to France, thanks to the French Republic, and I feel like proud of them, and I want to share them, and I want to do something. I want to give back something. I come from a quite humble family, and everything I do now, like even like just talking to you in English, my education, my finance education, and so on, I got it almost for free thanks to the French system. It could have been otherwise in other places in the world. So I think what I am today, I owe it a lot to France, and I just want to give something back, and I'm passionate about it. I think above other, not only about French politics in general. I have something to say about American politics. I have something to say about Ukraine and Russia and this and that. I don't mean like I want to always give an opinion about what's not my business, but I have my idea because I'm interested in how the world is. So I think it's just like if you are involved in many things today, in business, in whatever, you have to be aware of the world. You cannot ignore things. Even if you don't like politics, politics is going to come to you, right? Even if you say, I don't care about politics, okay, let's say I'm a crypto trader or a stocks trader. I don't care about politics. I just make my money and that's it. But the crypto market, the stocks market is impacted by the politics from Trump or for whatever. So whatever you do, you have to be interested in politics. So I think
Now,
nowadays, if you're a man, if you are responsible, you have to follow politics. You have to understand politics.
actually, in politics is actually influencing more of the daily life, and we see that every day. And we're going to get into that as well. But going into that, so I think you ran for the campaigns first, or was your first official position part of this 11th constituency representing overseas French?
Well, before running, I was already in office. So actually, I need to clarify the two different things. I am already in office since 2021 as a Conseiller des Français de l'étranger, which means advisor to the French people who live in Hong Kong and Macau. And after that, I decided to step up and to be a candidate for the French Parliament. in the more specifically the National Assembly, and there were elections in 2022 and 2024. So I'm not representing the French people in my constitution, in my district yet, because I wasn't elected, so I didn't win the election. But I'm still a candidate and will be again if there's election this year, I will be again candidate and so on, because I think it's my duty. So I'm not a representative. I'm a candidate for Asia. But where
And
I'm
then
a
and
representative,
then your and then your election cycles coincide, I guess, with the national kind of how does that coincide with,
or it
I think, what's going
coincide.
on in France?
Well, the timing normally it was every 5 years for the National Assembly, and it's normally right after the presidential election. So you had in April 2022 presidential election where Macron was re-elected, and then shortly after you have legislative where you vote for the National Assembly to vote for the members of parliament who will give or not a majority to Macron, and he didn't have his majority. And I was campaigning to be one of the people, I would say, in a more conservative side, because I'm in opposition to Macron and I would say more liberal government. But like I didn't win the election. The one who did won the election is also like a progressive is a progressive woman who is more Macron compatible, and but that's life, okay. But I hope one day we change. And then it happened again in 2024, because to reply to you about the timing, because normally it should be 2027, but it happened 2024 because Macron, the president, has the power to dissolve. I don't know if you say dissolve in it, but
Yes,
to
that's correct.
cancel everything.
Dissolve, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
he can cancel all the members of the National Assembly, not all the parliament, not the Senate, but only the National Assembly. He can say, okay, everybody, you don't have a job anymore. I cancel everything, and we make new election, snap elections. So I say, okay, he did it. So let's do it. So I ran again in 2024. And for your information, he did just right after the European elections, because in the European elections in 2024 in June, you had European elections, and Macron, his party, his side, they lost pretty big.
That's right.
So they
Quite
said,
a lot.
okay,
Correct.
because I lost and because it looks like I have to give the voice to the people, so you can vote again to select the members of the National Assembly. And actually, I don't really know why he did it, because he knew he would lose even more seats, but he did anyway. And that's it. And he might do it again this year. We see.
Okay, so if he does it again in this year, then you submit your candidacy
Possible.
again.
Yeah, he might do it, and if he does it, I will run again, and let's see what happens.
In the meantime, though, your current position is representing the overseas French expatriates in Hong Kong, Macau.
Yes.
Now, you were telling me a little bit about this position. So you're elected, so you represent their voices. You get, you work with the government, or sorry, you work with the consulate to represent those voices. And that's really kind of but this model is quite unique, right? Only a few countries actually have this.
Yes, it's. I know it can be a bit confusing for people who, first of all, maybe they're not interested in politics. But now, even if we talk about the French system, it's very complicated. But it's very. I would say it makes a lot of sense, because for when you love democracy and you want to give a voice to every citizen in the world, including the expats, that's great. So when we are talking about the National Assembly, I'm not elected, I'm a candidate. But now for the Hong Kong and Macau, I'm elected. I'm in office since 2021, and I was elected. And there's 4 people in Hong Kong to represent the French people in Hong Kong and Macau. So there's 4 seats, and one of the 4 is me. And so I don't work for the consulate, because it's an election. I work for the people. So the people who put me in office or not are the French people who live and vote in Hong Kong and Macau, because they can decide not to vote. They can live in Hong Kong but decide to vote in France if they prefer for the local elections. But normally, most of them, they vote here. And so they elect me, and the consulate, okay, I get money from the consulate, small money, is not much. So they have to pay me, because someone has to pay me. I'm an elected person from the French Republic, so I'm just a small potato. I'm not in the National Assembly. I'm not in the Parliament. I'm in the local district. So in Marseille, you have locally elected people from Marseille. You have from every village in France, they have locally elected people. My village is Hong Kong and Macau. So I represent the people who live in Hong Kong and Macau. And in other words, I don't depend on the French consulate in Hong Kong, even if they hate me, and I guess many of them do. They cannot fire me because they don't have any power over me. The only people who can fire me or vote for me are the French people in Hong Kong and Macau.
Now, what type of issues actually do you put and represent actually the people on behalf? Is it really, living a day-to-day basis? Is it visas? Or is it all of those?
So actually, it's everything. That's the short answer. But more specifically, we are officially mandated to talk about the scholarships for the French school in Hong Kong. Talk about the social welfare. If some French people in Hong Kong have some big financial difficulties, we can see what's happening and we can make a liaison with the consulate. We can try to help them. We are also it's also about employment. It's also about whatever. It could be some of the cultural aspects as well. So whatever is a link between the French community and the French, I would say, administration, government. Safety as well. We have meetings about the safety in Hong Kong. Of course, normally safety is about is the local government managing everything. But if there's something happening, if there's a war, there's an earthquake or whatever, and you need to evacuate all the French people, where do we gather? Do we gather at the French school? Do we bring an airplane and pick up people and bring them back to France and so on? Okay, we don't have this kind of problems in Hong Kong, but it can happen in some parts of the world where you have wars or you have a lot of
Well, I can imagine probably during World War II in
yeah.
Shanghai. Actually, this was probably one of the things that the French, or sorry, your position did, right?
Where in Shanghai?
Yeah, probably during the war.
Yeah, well, any war or natural
Of
or
course.
disaster, or earthquake or whatever, where you need to know how many French people are there, where are they, who needs help, who needs to be evacuated. So of course, my job would be to have the information going smooth between the government and the people, and the opposite also way as well. So if the French people in Hong Kong have something to say about the government or the consulate, they can tell me. Sometimes they abuse about this because they cannot reach the consulate. They try to call them. They call me. Hey, Mark, I cannot reach the consulate. They don't reply my call. They don't reply my emails and so on. So this is a bit extreme. That's not my job. But I know a lot of people see me like that because I'm asking for my passport to be renewed. Why so slow and so on? Mark, can you check? So this is. But yeah, actually, people can contact me for anything.
But do you also deal with kind of, Hong Kong has this kind of Invest HK, the US has a commerce department. Do you also deal with commerce as well, or that's an entirely separate kind of
Well,
bureau?
it's possible indirectly, so it's not in my official what I'm mandated to do. But I do it first of all. I do it because of my activities. I do the CFI, the club. I do business meetings and so on. So I do it not as a politician, but as a businessman, personally. But I can be asked to join some events. Sometimes they ask me. For example, I have some friends. They do the French Tech. So sometimes they invite me to some events, or I try to support. I share some information and so on. So because of what I'm doing privately, like the CFI, or publicly, officially, like as a politician, people know me as a person, and they just invite me. So sometimes I'm invited to business events, and I have to connect with. So I've been to Invest Hong Kong events and so on. But for different reasons. It's not directly linked to my political involvement, but it can be indirectly linked to it because people invite me because of that. Right?
No, actually, we did some research beforehand as well. So the only other countries that actually have this is Italy, thanks to ChatGPT, Portugal, but Portugal I think is much smaller, and then it kind of the list kind of runs down Colombia, Tunisia, Mexico, but they're very small. I think even the Brits don't have something like this. Americans don't have something like this. So it's a unique system. I don't know if you know the history of this. Is there a reason why, or why this is formed? Um,
Well, actually, it's pretty new that we have some locally elected people. That to have some representative, it's been a long time. Actually, to make it short, it comes from the colonies. Because the French people had a lot of colonies around the world, so you had to have representatives of the French people who live in Vietnam, in Africa, and so on. So I would say is something from the past, and which still exists today, to have like a voice to represent the French people who don't live in France, and there's a lot of them. Why the British don't have, for example, I don't know, maybe they have different system. They have governors. They had something like it's just different. Everything is very centralized in London. But I would say the mindset of the French is a lot about like human rights, democracy, and this and that. So French people love to be really representative of the people where they are. So this is one reason. And also like why more recently we have locally elected people for Hong Kong and Macau. It's also, I think, the same principle is that people were thinking we have more and more expats around the world who can speak on behalf of people. So we have to create some positions to make it happen. So actually, there was a reform in 2012 or whatever. So the first election was 2014 that we have
Okay,
elected
let's see.
people, yeah, only for Hong Kong and Macau. Before that, I think you had people for China or Asia, and it was like you had less people, maybe like 100 people around the world. Now you have over 500 people like me around the world. To make it short, because you have conseiller, but you also have délégué and so on. But you have about 500 people like me around the world who represent locally elected people. And then, should we have more? Should we have like 2,000? Should we have less, but with a better salary and full-time job? I don't know. It's open to debate. But I think the fact that you have people to represent is good. And I guess like I'm wondering why I've talked about this with some friends from the UK or from the US, because the UK and the US are big democracies, right? And also they are proud to be democracies. So why do they don't have this? We don't have in Hong Kong. There's a lot of Brits in Hong Kong. Why don't they elect someone to represent the Brits in Hong Kong? That could make sense, right? So maybe they will
It's
one day. I think that's open to debate.
it is actually something quite unusual. I've never heard this, and I try to study the different systems, right? And so the British system tends to be tradition in the colonies. It would tend to be very private, so it would be kind of business run. And each colony was very different, right? Some actually had a very tight relationship with the crown. Some were just kind of business
Yeah.
minded.
Yeah,
And the
but
U.S. is
yeah,
relatively new,
talking about the
so
crown, I think also because there's a monarchy heritage, so it can make sense that the crown nominates governors and this and that. Okay, so I can understand why the British are different, but the U.S., the Americans, well, I think and the Americans have the biggest network of consulate and embassies around the world, so they should have something similar because they say they are the best democracy in the world, right? They think they're the best in everything, so why not?
actually, this is where we can segue. What do you think about, or what is kind of generally the French response to what's going on in the U.S., even the presidency and Trump? What are some of the reactions? And even before this, I had sent an article to you about, I think, Macron trying to attract, I think, researchers and PhDs back into France, right?
Yeah, well, of course, you don't have only one opinion. I can only give my own opinion, but I could say I can attempt to give a general feeling. Uh, what happened in the US recently with the election. I think is going in the right direction. But most French people don't think like me. Most French, and I would say most European people, they don't like Trump, and they would think that democracy is something else, and you have to have certain values and you have to support research and this and that. So yes, I've seen some article recently talking about Macron saying that the US are doing a mistake cutting funds to researchers just because of some details, saying that they have the word diversity in their program and this and that. So I think there's a part of truth. Like I think maybe Trump is a bit too brutal in the way he's doing it. Uh, is there too much government funding going towards shit? I agree. I totally agree with that. You shouldn't spend U.S. government money to promote like LGBT things in research. Okay, fine. Should you cut all the funding in everything and even the products and the researchers who need it? Maybe it goes too far. So I think they are going in the right direction, but maybe they're going too hard on it, and so they cut some funding to some researchers who need it. And okay, you can argue that yeah, okay, you don't make eggs without I don't know if it's
Right.
English,
Yeah, yes. No,
without breaking
yes.
some eggs.
You
You
don't make
have to,
omelet
yeah,
without breaking some eggs.
yeah, there will be some
Yeah.
damages along the way, and you want to do it or you don't want to do it. Okay, fair enough. So for me, I'm quite like I think they're doing the right choice. But from a French point of view, France, the French mind is that the French people are very sensitive about cutting funding or not helping the people who need it. So I understand why Macron says that. So now he's trying to attract the American researchers who don't find opportunities and make them bring to France. But I don't think it's gonna really happen because let's say you're American, you have good idea. Do you really want to go to France now? If you see the situation of France, if you see the salaries of France, when you make much more money in the US than in France. If I was American and there's a misunderstanding about the funding I need, first, plan A is that I try another way to get it and to stay in the US. But plan B, I would go to China or I would go to Asia. The place to be now is not in France.
Now, having said that, like, do you think, and I've heard actually some of these, this commentary from on Twitter, Arnaud, right? Bertrand, I think that's his last name. Ultimately, is there a sense of betrayal? Is it a sense that, this relationship between the US and Europe ultimately cannot be mended because of this kind of decades of relationship being kind of split apart like this?
Yeah, but you can see from different point of views. You can say that the Americans have betrayed the friendship of the Europeans and the French, or you can say also the European, the French, they have betrayed the values of democracy and freedom of speech and so on, right? So because what made the West, the Western world alive is like common values about, yes, freedom, democracy, cooperation in many fields. Culturally also they are close because the American, what are the Americans? They are originally the British, the Irish, and so they are European originally, right? So you have something in common. That's why there have been allies, and also there were wars, of course. So since World War II, there's a tight relationship between France, the European, and the UK, and the US. Sorry, but now recently you can see that the Europe and France are becoming more and more, I would say, something else than that. The idea of the greatness of the French before, it's becoming more and more like a dictatorship of a few people in Brussels, in Germany, and they are getting involved in so many things. So instead of using the funding, the public funding to do something useful, they're gonna send the money to Ukraine, or they're gonna do some regulations and this and that instead of innovating like China is doing or the US is doing. So, and also there's a big problem with the change of identity in Europe, welcoming people from everywhere and too many people from Africa. So of course you need to welcome people from Africa. You need to welcome the people you need. For example, China, Hong Kong welcomes people from Africa. They are welcome because they come here, they do some job, they invest some money, they do some research. They are good people. That's fine. But you cannot welcome everyone. You cannot welcome all the refugees. You cannot change the identity of Europe. You cannot let your kids and your girls getting raped or killed and so on in the street. So when you see that, I think, in the opinion of in the eyes of the Trump administration, they see that France or Europe has betrayed the original idea of what is the Western civilization. And I think even the Chinese or the Asian people can see it, because when you think about France, what do you think about? You think about the romantic Paris, you think about the culture, you think about the language, the food, and this and that. But now when you go back to France, do you see this? When you see Macron, what he's doing, well, the kind of parties, what he's promoting, the kind of culture he's promoting, it doesn't look like what the French people are or what the French people represent. So for me, the Macron government or even the Ursula von der Leyen government themselves are the people who betrayed the relationship between the Europeans and the Americans. And what do Trump and Musk and all the people, they're just trying to sort this out and find some solutions to this mess. They're not doing this perfectly. I'm not saying that because they did a few mistakes recently, I don't agree with a few things. But I think globally, I understand what they're doing.
Yep. No, so right, you're referring to actually right, Ursula. Basically, a lot of the decisions. I don't know how the money flows, but the decisions actually taken by the EU, and somehow that trumps, I guess, the sovereign decisions of France and other European countries. And then we shift slightly to kind of you spend also a lot of time in China. You go to the GBA a lot. Every single time I ping you, you're in the GBA. Last time we met actually was in Shenzhen with Laurent as well. Are you trying to be? Are you trying to get your position to cover also China? What excites you about China, and what do you see there that, um, yeah, which kind of explains why you go there so often?
About the first question, the position, no, because my position is about Hong Kong and Macau. But for the what I'm candidate, yes, because like we talked before, the candidate of the for the National Assembly, the 11th constituency is the whole Asia. So actually, the French people who live in China are potentially the people who can vote for me. But in the same way as French people who live in Japan or in Russia or even in Australia. So do I go there to meet people who want to talk to me and maybe support my political involvement? Yes, I do. But is it the main reason why I'm going more and more to China? No, because actually it would be the same as Australia or Japan. But I'm not going to Australia or to Japan. Well, I'd love to go, but but why I'm going to China is just because of business. I didn't choose it because of business is business. Business chooses you. You just go where there are opportunities, where people invite you. So I love Hong Kong. I'm happy in Hong Kong. But it just happens that it looks like more and more French people go to China, more and more businesses happen in China. To make it like a very simple example, I organize a little party in Hong Kong. There's some good turnout, people show up, very happy. I organize a party in Shenzhen. There's more people showing up, the more people having fun at the party. So it looks like the place to be now is more and more in Shenzhen. I didn't choose it. It's just like I go there, I see it, I like it or I don't like it. I have to have my eyes open. I have to see the fact. The fact is that things are happening in China. There's a lot. I mean, in mainland China, there's a lot of parties. There's a lot of expat coming in, and I just have to adapt. And I think in the next few years, it's gonna be even more like exponential. And now is the time to settle down, to start some business in China. So the best is to live in Hong Kong and to have the business in China because it's so easy. I can go to Shenzhen for a few hours and go back to Hong Kong. So what I'm trying to do is to do some business in China without really living in China, because I think that's the best, because you have the best of both worlds, living in Hong Kong and doing business in China. Let's see if it
What's
happens. If it's possible.
But what surprises you? So I didn't know that there's actually when you host these things, there are more people actually going to Shenzhen events in Hong Kong. What is it excites you? What like is it the number of people? Is there excitement about what's abroad? Tell us some of the characteristics that you find actually
Okay.
interesting.
So yeah, that's a good question. But first of all, about the events I do, yes, there's more people turning up, different mood. I would say when I'm in Hong Kong, I cannot explain, but I go to events in Hong Kong. We do a dinner. We are maybe 15 people, and then we go out. We are at the end of the night, we are 3, 4, 5 people to go party and so on. When I'm in Shenzhen, there's more people showing up, and there's more people going out. I feel like the mindset of people is more in China is more like is more dynamic. There's more things happening. So it's just like or maybe it's just because I live in Hong Kong. I have my family here. I have different mindset, and when I do an event in Hong Kong, I go home early and whatever. But when I'm in China, I don't know. There's so many things I cannot explain. But in general, I would say that when we do something in a French club in Shenzhen or in China, uh, things go so smooth. You meet people, you make business, you meet customers, you meet suppliers. It just happens naturally. So there's a kind of thing. There's growth. And that's the way it is. It's like Hong Kong, like 20, 30 years ago. Now it's China. So this is about the French club. That's what I see. I don't control it. That's what I see. Now I would say there's also things like personal things about life. For example, when I go to China, I can easily book a taxi and pay with WeChat or credit card. When you are in Hong Kong, you can see many taxi. If you don't have cash, you have a problem. So it looks like a lot of things like Shenzhen or China is much more advanced now compared to Hong Kong. Before COVID, like just 5, 10 years ago, so many people came from China to Hong Kong because life was better in Hong Kong. Now, actually, so many things are more advanced in China. It's not only the taxi. It's like when you order something to deliver. Like I was in Shenzhen the last weekend, and I forgot Monday was a holiday, so we decided to stay one more night, and we didn't have like everything we needed. So we just ordered some underwear or whatever online, and it was delivered at the hotel in 2 hours. And they put that in front of the door. This you cannot do in Hong Kong. So there's a lot of things you can do in China, you cannot do in Hong Kong. And also, of course, everybody knows the price is cheaper. And also the service, I think the mindset, and that connects also with what I see from the events. The mindset of people looks, the people look more happy. The waiter, the service in the restaurant is just better, unfortunately. Like before COVID, I was saying like the people in China, they are rude, they are this and that. Hong Kong is better. But now when I go to the restaurant, the food comes fast. The people, the waiter are smiling. They say hello. They are trying to check, are you okay? Everything okay? They check everything is fine. When you go to Hong Kong, it looks like the waiter, they're in a bad mood. They don't like you. They don't like to see you. They give you the dish. They throw it away. Actually, it looks like the mood of people in Hong Kong has decreased. I don't know why, and I don't like it. I wish Hong Kong was different. But what can I do? I can just see what's happening, and the fact is that I see the future is more and more in China, and China has surpassed Hong Kong in everything except of course the international side. When I'm in Hong Kong, I'm happy that I have some fast internet with all the social media, the X, the Telegram, the LinkedIn, everything else. And you have more foreigners in Hong Kong. You have more people speaking English. Like my Mandarin is still quite basic, so I'm always happy when I come back to Hong Kong and I can see like I feel at home. So I'm definitely more happy to live in Hong Kong. But business trip and so on, events, parties, and so on. Man, I think so many things are happening in China now.
And then are there any cities that actually you see kind of growing a little bit more? Because you spend your time in the GBA. Is it Zhuhai? Is it Shenzhen?
Yeah. Well, mostly Zhuhai and Shenzhen because it's close to Hong Kong where I live. Usually I go to Zhuhai to chill with family, going by the beach, have some nice meal and so on, and have some not too busy events. And I go to Shenzhen to do events with the Club France. And other cities I don't know too well. I go to Guangzhou sometimes. I like, but I'm not impressed. I like Shenzhen more, but I know some people like Guangzhou more. In 2 weeks, I'm gonna be in Shanghai. I'm going to the French Chamber of Commerce Gala. I'm invited, so I will go. Looks interesting. I love Shanghai. It's very nice. But from what I've seen, because I was in Shanghai already like a few months ago, it's nice. It's very advanced. I like it. But so far, I think so many things are happening in Shenzhen. It's like the Silicon Valley of China. Like I think in 5-10 years later, Shenzhen will be the place to be in China, more than Shanghai, more than Guangzhou, more than Beijing. And right now is a place to be to find whatever, if you want to buy a flat, if you want to start a business or whatever. Now is the time. Even now is maybe a bit late because so many things are so expensive already in Shenzhen. But I think now is a time to settle down, to know how to handle the Chinese, because like there's so many good things in China, but there's also the downside that you need to know the system. You need to have a WeChat. You need to have so many things work only in China. So you need to know all the social media. Now I have some with my Xiaohongshu and this. I don't know. I don't understand how to use it. I need to practice my Chinese. And there's so many. China is like another world. If you go for the first time and you try to do some business, maybe you will hate it, because it's not like you go to Thailand. If you go to Thailand, everybody speaks English and so on. That's nice. You go to China, oh my God, it's so different. But if you make some effort, you can get used to it. So, and I know not everybody is ready to do that effort. So, well, let's see. There's a lot of things you have to keep in mind to make your experience smooth in China. So that's why I spend more and more time there, because I'm trying to be more at ease, to feel more comfortable there. And yeah, let's see.
Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for your invitation. That's nice, and I hope to see you at the French Club event soon.
Yes,
Come
actually,
have a
we'll drop
drink.
a link for
Come
that.
party with the French.
Sounds good. The French are famous for their parties.